Hi, folks. This is Don Meisner with the North Country Fishing Report. Well, each week it gets a little later in the season, and one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about today is some of the discoveries that my buddy Dave Swanson has made on Cayuga Lake. And you're going to say, well, we're not on Cayuga Lake. We're different here. Well, we're different, but we have the same type of species. And since Dave has become retired and has the time and his home is right on the lake, he can go out and he can explore and learn about some of these fisheries that he never would have had a chance before. So he's been going after perch lately. Before I told you about his lake trout discoveries of vertical jigging. But with perch, he loves it, just like so many of you do. And here is what he's told me that he's discovered. First of all, he has a pontoon boat, and he has it rigged with all the new graphs and so forth, so that he can not only visualize but really see. And what I'm saying, I visualize things all the time without graphs, but he can actually see what's happening underwater. And so he's located schools of perch, and they tend to be within 5 feet of the depth. In other words, say they're in 23 to 28 feet of water. If you deviate from that depth, he said, there's nothing. They aren't there. And as he's discovered them, he's discovered new ways to fish them. Number one, as I've said, depth is critical. Second of all, I've asked him if he could experiment and see the difference that soft plastics might make either negatively or positively. And so he normally fishes with minnows, and I've told you that he's had really good luck in the past with bacon fat. However, he has really tried to find out if soft plastics can work and work well. What he's discovered is that if he finds a big school of perch and he lets the minnows down, bam, 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 he is catching so many fish. When he puts the soft plastics, not near as many strikes. But the biggest perch that he catches are on the soft plastic paddle tail that he makes with a Ned rig jig head. And I said to him, well, Dave, what if you use the same size minnows as the soft plastics? He said, I am. It's not about the size. So he also dips those soft plastics in scent. And I think that's really important because there's a reason that they will so more readily hit minnows than they will artificials. The other thing he says is he's using 6-pound test mono. And he says a lot of times he says the strikes are so subtle that he doesn't really feel it. And I told him, well, I said, my buddy Mike Bean is using 4-pound braid, which is it's like a hair. It's so thin. But since braid doesn't stretch, you can feel those strikes you might not feel with mono. He also said that he thinks those perch are line shy and that the 6-pound test is too heavy. This is really interesting to remember. He also uses a circle hook because he said they tend to not swallow it as much, and it's so much easier to let those small fish go. And the other thing that I think is really, really important is that he's found that if he's moving, in other words, he locates a school, but then if he moves very slowly following the school, he catches more fish than if he stays in one spot, even though the fish are there. That subtle moving. And I said, how fast are you going? He says, 0.5 miles an hour. So this is really interesting because a lot of times we don't have live bait. It's hard to get. It can be more of a nuisance to try to keep putting those minnows on the hook. But there's something about live bait that works. And even fish like perch, which we think we can go out and catch big numbers, and they're in big numbers of schools. However, they can be as finicky and as particular as other game fish that we are so challenged to catch. Until next time, folks, this is Don Meisner with the North Country Fishing Report.